Magic. It's all around us. And sometimes it brings us closer together.
Hello friends and enemies, and welcome back to a 20-something-year-old talking to you about card games. Ain't that neat? If you've been alive any time over the past 28 or so years, you've probably heard about Magic the Gathering. Magic was created in the 90s by a college student named Richard Garfield, and in 1993 it was picked up by universally loved nerd media Wizards of the Coast, who were responsible for publishing Dungeons & Dragons. It was a nerd game. Magic the Gathering was incredible. It started a boom. It was the first modern trading card game of our time. It went on to inspire many other card games, including Yu-Gi-Oh! And Wyvern, and it went on to become a growing sensation. And then it dropped in popularity, and then it gained popularity, and it's just been doing that ever since the beginning. Magic the Gathering was very streamlined in how it was played. It was kind of simple to get into. You could get into it super easy, and as the game progressed, it got more and more strategy based. And because of this, every once in a while when Wizards would announce a new mechanic for the game or a change to the rules, it would drop. It would suddenly be the end of Magic. And that just kept happening once every few years. Magic as we know it today is much different from the Magic from 1993 in a lot of different ways. Not too many huge differences, but still pretty different from the 1993 Magic. And it's the most popular card game in America. I mean, we've all probably heard of it. But being America's #1 card game does have its downfalls. It does make Magic very expensive to get into, more expensive comparatively to other card games. Less expensive than some, more expensive than others, but overall, most expensive card game that we know of. It's got cards that span tens of thousands of dollars. Ridiculous prices for tiny pieces of cardboard that we just flick around onto a table with our friends and laugh at when they have dumb art on them. But I don't feel like there's much of an introduction I can really give Magic. I feel like if you're watching this video, you probably already know what Magic is, but as I like to do, I am going to give the gameplay basics. So if you're watching this and you haven't played Magic before, but you've been thinking about getting into it, let's jump right into the gameplay, why don't we? When you play Magic the Gathering, you are the Planeswalker, a powerful wizard that can teleport across the planes of the multiverse. Let's take a look at how that looks in-game. Alright, so we've got my dastardly little playmat here, and what we're going to start off with is setting our deck off to the side. To start a game of Magic, we draw 7 cards into our hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Before we get into our gameplay basics, we have to talk about the building blocks of your deck. There are 2 main pieces of your deck. The first part of your deck is going to be your land cards. These are the cards that are going to help you play your other cards, which are spells. Anything that's not a land card is a spell card until it's cast. In Magic the Gathering, Planeswalkers get their magic from the land through these little veins called ley lines that are running through all of the planets and planes that they planeswalk to. This is why your mana comes from your land cards, to show that little story bit. Now, a land card can encompass one of any of the 5 colors that you see on the back of the Magic card. These colors in order are white, blue, black, red, and green. Each of the colors of Magic the Gathering has their own theme to them, which affects the way the game plays because the themes of the colors relate to how the colors play, and you kind of need to know how each color works to know which deck and play style will fit how you want to play. So let's go over them now. The first color is white. White is the color of law and order and control and stuff like that. You're gonna see a lot of very like angels, clerics, lawmen, lawmakers, people of that sort of nature. They do a lot of life gain, a lot of stuff like, you know, making sure that your creatures stay alive. Stuff like that, trying to balance the board to keep you alive. Second up is blue. Blue is the color of logic and trickery and manipulation. They do a lot of spells and counters and stuff like that. With blue, you're going to see a lot of making sure that you can keep yourself on top of your opponent and shutting your opponent down. Black is the color of death and selfishness and amorality. A lot of black cards are going to be sending themselves to the graveyard or trying to kill opponents' creatures as fast and effectively as possible. It's mainly getting rid of things on the field. Red is all about impulse and chaos. A lot of really quick, really small damage dealers. A lot of creatures attacking really quickly. Red is really the color you want to play if you want to deal a lot of damage really fast. And finally, we have green, the color of instinct and nature. It's going to be a lot of animal type creatures, a lot of elves, stuff like that. You're going to see a lot of making your creatures bigger than they are and making your creatures fight other creatures to make sure that they can stay the top on the field. And that's how the color pie of Magic works. All of the colors on the back of the card are important in the deck building of Magic. You can make your deck be any one of these colors or any combination of these colors in any number that you'd like. Most lands are going to have either one color to them, 2, or 3. Every single color land is known as a basic land. The other 2 are dual lands and tri-lands respectively. The second type of card we're going to look at are your spell cards. Every spell card has one thing in common, and that's going to be in the top right-hand corner of the card. This is going to be your card's converted mana cost. This is the amount of mana that you need to pay in order to play your card. Normally, a card will have a color that you need to pay. Some cards will have a little number right before the rest of the colors, and that just means you can pay any color for that amount, plus the color that comes after it. The second thing to look for in your spell cards are for creature cards specifically. These are going to be in the bottom right hand corner, and this is going to be your power and your toughness. Each creature has power and toughness respectively. When you, the turn player, decide to attack your opponent with a creature, a couple of different things happen. Either your opponent decides to take the damage directly to their life, or if they have a creature card out on the field, they can decide to block. When a creature blocks another creature, they deal their power to your creature's toughness and vice versa. And whatever power beats the other creature's toughness, that creature dies. If both creatures meet each other's power and toughness, both creatures die. And much like many other card games, there are a couple ways to win Magic the Gathering: getting your opponent's life down to 0, or making sure that they can no longer draw a card from their deck by having all of their cards into their graveyard. Now, as you can see in my hand here, I've got 4 lands and 3 spells that I can cast. So what I'm going to do to start my turn off is play my Highland Lake dual land tapped. When a card becomes tapped, that means that it has been used. You can no longer use it until it untaps during your next turn. Let's say on my second turn, I untap my Highland Lake at the beginning of the game, and then I draw another card into my hand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my Plains card onto the battlefield. And now we take a look at my Goblin Javelineer. Since my Goblin Javelineer is 1 red to play, I can go ahead and tap my Highland Lake to play it onto the field. And since it has haste, I can go ahead and swing to attack directly for 1 damage. turns go back and forth like this, playing a land, tapping your mana to play a card, and then attacking or doing effects to each other until one player wins and the other loses. Simple gameplay. Other things that are needed to be known in Magic, there are a difference between spells that are sorceries and spells that are instants. Instant spells can be cast on either player's turn. They're kind of like trap cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Sorcery spells can only be cast on the turn player's turn, so if you have a sorcery, you can only cast it when it's your turn. Other than that, everything that's not an instant is a permanent. Anything that stays on the field is a permanent, I should say. And like I said before, anything that's not a land is a spell card. The gameplay of Magic the Gathering is pretty bare bones. It's made pretty simple so that everyone can really just jump into it. Yeah, there are a bunch of keywords that you kind of have to pay attention to and understand what they mean, but a lot of keywords have reminder text, which just reminds you how the keyword works. It's for this reason that Magic is really easy for people to start playing and understand. It's very, very straightforward as to what you can do with it. Although I have seen people get a little confused in Magic and think that you can attack monsters like you can in Yu-Gi-Oh!, which you can't, of course. Magic the Gathering has many different formats to it that have different deck sizes, different life totals, different cards that are banned, that are not banned, different types of cards that you can use. So look into the formats of Magic before you play. Decide on what type of Magic you want to learn. Me personally, I like to play Commander, a 100-card format deck that has only one copy of every card that you can have, and you start with 40 life. You get a commander to represent you, much like in a game like Flesh and Blood, but make sure if you're getting into Magic that you look into Magic formats and decide what's best for you. Now let's talk about my feelings on Magic the Gathering. While Magic is simple to play, like I said before, it is pretty expensive to jump on into. While Magic is pretty simple to learn and play, it is still pretty expensive to get into. Prices of cards are constantly going up, making it kind of hard to get into the game. Luckily, if you don't have a lot of money, there are a couple of ways to rectify this. There are 2 digital options to play Magic for free and get yourself into the game if you don't have the money to get into it, or if you don't want to spend the money to get into it. The first, less popular option is Magic the Gathering Online. It is a free download from the Wizards website that you can just get and play Magic with other people. The downside to this is that if you don't know how mechanics work in Magic, it might work against you. This game requires you to know how Magic works and initiate everything yourself. Although that might be easier if you want to get into the physical card game later. So if that sounds appealing to you, try it out. Although I don't know if it's still up. There's been talk about Magic Online going down and talk about it being gone forever, but looking on the Magic website, it's right there. So I don't know. If it's not there, I'm sorry. The second way to learn how to play, and arguably the most popular, is Magic the Gathering Arena. Now this is an only standard format game, so you aren't going to be playing other formats outside of standard, which is fine. Like I said before, that's the format that people like to learn to play in. This game is completely free, and they do have tournaments that you can pay for if you would like to join, like an actual regional or world tournament. You can pay to get into one. You can also pay in the game to get cards in the game if you would like to. You don't have to. You can play for free. It's very easy to play for free, and I would recommend Magic the Gathering Arena if you would like to get into Magic. It's pretty fun. Another fun thing about Magic the Gathering is that it has a story. Not like other card games where stories in the card art, or there's like a story outside, like with Chaotic in a different world. Magic has an actual written story that you can go and read right now for free. I'll put a link down in the description if that's interesting to you. There are a lot of Magic the Gathering products, and the problem with products is that they can be pricey for not a lot of payoff. Be careful if you are planning on buying into Magic the Gathering. That being said, let's end this really short card game review video off with a good review. I really like Magic the Gathering. As much as I feel about Wizards of the Coast and how they run the game, I still find it really fun. I would give Magic the Gathering a 9 out of 10 stars. But I hope you enjoyed. It seems like these card game reviews are getting a little bit of attention, which I'm glad. I really like doing this. I'm going to keep doing it regardless of if people watch or not, just because it's something I'm passionate about. I like card games. I like talking about them. But enough of me rambling. It's time to go play some Magic. Until next time, drink your water.